Why is it so hard to find a great drum library? I'm not saying that there's not great drum libraries out there. What I'm saying is that it's really hard to sort of like window shop. Since most companies don't really give you a functional demo that you can play with, you have to solely rely on the demos that they post on their websites or reviews on YouTube, right? I took it upon myself to put a little bit of time, record some of my favorite and not so favorite demos, level match them so that we can compare them. Let's go! I'm Jorge Lances, and now we break it down, baby. Alright, my friend, thank you so much for being here today. And doesn't it happen to you that it's very hard to find really great drum sounds? I wish more companies would give you like a fully functional demo that you can use, like most amp sims, for example. You can always download like a limited version or like a limited time trial, something so that you can get a flavor of not only how the plugin sounds, but how it feels when you play, for example, keyboard drumming in this case, or how the dynamics would react with sort of like your usual velocity control programming that you do. I don't know, maybe like 2 days, 24 hours, 12 hours.
2 hours.
Something small enough so that nobody gets the chance to like sample the library or whatever, you know what I mean? Like you can put some limitations, but that's just building castles in the sand because it's not reality. And the fact is that you have to listen to their demos. But the other day I went on a drum library safari, if you want, trying to find that one drum library that I wanted to buy right before the end of the year. And I found it
So difficult to do.
not only, like we said, there's no demos, but the demos that you hear online, the mixes and levels of processing are so different that in some websites you have a file that is maybe, I don't know, like a -8 dB full scale. Which if you're not an engineer, that just means like
It's a lot quieter.
imagine you turn your volume knob and you have it maybe like at noon and you turn it down to maybe, I don't know, like 9 or whatever here or whatever it is for you. Of course that you're gonna think that the one that's at 12 o'clock sounds bigger, fuller, there's more power, more definition, better high end, better top end, better mid range, better everything because it's like 6 dB louder. And who doesn't want louder drums, right? Anyway, I'm talking too much, so let's stop the talking, get to the rocking, and check some drums. Okay, so here we are in Pro Tools, and the different colors that you're seeing are the different like drum library houses, if you will. Like there's Addictive Drums right here, there's Superior Drummer right here, there's Easy Drummer right here, there's the MixWave people right here, then we have MDL Sound, then we have that one Odeholm drum set, and then we have Bogren Digital right here on this blue. Of course, as usual, we have our nice little meter right here so that we can see what's happening. Mainly in these examples, I think we're gonna have to pay attention to what's happening around this area in the RMS levels, because the peaks are all going to be right here around 4. So all these files have been normalized, although you can see files like this, for example, that looks like it's a little bit quieter, right? But in theory, it should be peaking at the same spot. Okay, so let's start hearing Addictive Drums. I'm going to play you all of them back to back. I'm going to be quiet, but then at the end, I'm going to come back to you and tell you what we're listening to and the way to approach Addictive Drums in case you have Addictive Drums. And if you do, let me know in the comment section that you have Addictive Drums and that you would like me to make more content about Addictive Drums and maybe how to try to like work with it to get a little bit of a better sound. And while you're there, remember to like, subscribe, and do all those cool little things that we like to do on YouTube, and enjoy this little sonoma, my friend. I hope your day keeps getting better and better and better. All right, let's keep hearing drums. So let's go, pay attention to the meters, and here we go. So there you go, my friend. In this section of Addictive Drums, I went through just like a couple libraries that sound pretty natural. This like the United Pop, as you can read right here, the names. They're a little bit more conceptual and they sound really good. But what happens with Addictive Drums? And let's say, what is my problem with it? That's because of the nature that it's trying to sound natural. It just gives you a lot of work to do. Every time I'm working with Addictive Drums, I'm going to have EQs on like all the drums that are going to be looking something like this. You know what I mean? And that is a little bit too much to be doing, but let's just hear a couple examples. And like I said, this is not surgically or anything. It's just like ballpark so that you know sort of like what you're going to be dealing with on a track by track basis. Maybe the toms are going to need to be higher on the top end and the mid range needs to be different on the snare, but whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. Same thing here. Let's hear it. In most of Addictive Drums, this is the one that you're going to be trying to pay attention the most on every single drum. Everything has this thing. And just sweep this a little bit around, like, I don't know, from here to here. Like, let's just hear it really quick. So just sing those frequencies in your head when you're listening to the drums. For example, right now, if we hear this, I hear that. That is like around here, you know what I mean? See what I mean? So you're going to find yourself doing that
a lot
with Addictive Drums. Can you get a great sound? Probably, yeah. Can Serban make this drum sound amazing? Yes, he can. CLA? Yeah. Just Goodwin? Yeah. Jason Joshua? Yeah. But again, I don't want this to come across like I'm bashing them because let me tell you, Addictive Drums, what an amazing drum library plugin. Super stable, hardly ever crashes. I don't even know that it's ever crashed to me. The drum sounds are really great captures. The dynamics are really nice. It's very easy to map to whatever way you like to play drums in your hands or whatever you like to do. But then, just be aware that you're going to have to mix the SHIT out of these drums to make them sound great. And then, of course, then you're going to have parallels with like subs and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of work to be done. But like I said, the same would be if you go to East West and you cut drums there.
Probably you're still going to have to mix them a lot.
And now let's hear the contenders to replace Addictive Drums in my setup. So of course, I want to start with Superior Drums because Superior Drums is awesome. Let's just start by listening to this great preset called Def Snare, Deftones, I guess. So instantly, this drum still sound natural, not over mixed, not over processed. I think it's a closer starting point. Like right out of the bat, I don't hear big problems. Yeah, things could be different. Things might need to be chiseled out just to fit in your mix, but it doesn't sound bad at all. But let's just be quiet and do the same thing that we did with Addictive Drums. Play all the examples and then come back and talk. Let's hear it. See, like to me, that sounds like you brought the A team to East West. Not like we said in the example before, you and me and East West, but no, like the A team with you and me and East West. So there you go. Like Superior Drummer, I feel like still retains that element of trying to sound like it's real. It still feels like you brought your best friend that plays drums like a beast and he just like killed it. I have a bunch of those friends that are really good at drums. And it just sounds like I'm listening to them playing in a great drum set in a great studio. Like I've heard them many times. And that is the big draw, at least for me, especially when I hear Superior Drummer. And especially in this like Deftones preset, this thing. I mean, of course, the beat is like impeccable. That hi-hat is like so really good. But especially like that snare just sounds so good. Like a great snare in a great room. Like some of my favorite records. And exactly like that says right there, it sounds like a Deftones record and it sounds great. So just picture that that's your starting point. And if you have like great engineering skills and you're like a very good mixer on your own right, maybe this is a great way to go, right? Especially because they have like a big library. I only did like rock and metal because like some of like the more boutique stuff, the most modern stuff, the things that I feel maybe sound the best, all the examples are a little bit like rocky. So I wanted to have like some sort of like apples to apples comparison. Okay, so now let's hear Easy Drummer all the way through and then we come back with some commentary. Okay, so now, like, I feel like Easy Drummer, it's in a little bit of like a weird space for me because it has all the problems in my head that Addictive Drum has for me. You're still gonna have to mix these things aggressively. They do have a bunch of problems. Like, there's a few parts that I could hear more of like the part of the hi-hat than the actual click of it or like the definition or the So I'm just like, did they on purpose, when they went to the studio, they just left the hi-hat all the way open? Did they not touch any EQ in the console? Like, what is it that they did differently compared to what they did, for example, for Superior Drummer? Or is it just that the grooves are bad? I don't know what it is, but it just sounds like a little bit fakey in the way that it's played and fakey in the way that it sounds. Especially, I want to say that there's something about that kick drum and all of them have it the same. So I assume it's like a bit of a problem that you can maybe fix with EQ, compression or something. But they all have like this like effect that makes it sound a little bit like it's a balloon or like a brand new soccer ball or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It almost feels like, I don't know, like there might be like malicious intent or something because it's like, did you guys on purpose made this sound like this? Because especially I'm just almost not giving them the benefit of like the age because where Addictive Drums is like, they're all like old libraries. There might be, I don't know, maybe like 10 years or more. Addictive Drums was old when I bought it 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's not a new plugin. But then Easy Drummer, maybe it's like 2, 3 years old. So I feel like, of course, they have like the big focus on the low end of the drums. So maybe I would get a little bit maybe better results easier with Easy Drummer than I am with Addictive Drums right now. But then again, it's a compromise and it's still not cheap. It's like a $200 thing, you know? And then they have all these other libraries that you have to keep investing and buying, right? If you want to stay current, or if you want to do something different with different genres, or of course, that's where they bring their great sounds. None of it is like in the core library, you know what I mean? So that's something to keep in mind. Now, very, very cool. Let's check this plugin company called MixWave. I've been very, very interested. The other day, I heard a bunch of their samples, and I just thought like, wow, this really sounds incredible. But then, you know, Tyler Larson is behind it. So I don't know how much of his hand it is like doing the mixing and stuff. Let's hear it right now that I'm going to pay a little bit more of attention and that I have like the same level with the other drums. Because usually Tyler Larson's are a little bit louder than most. So I didn't know if it's like, it's just like kicking me or do they really sound way, way better? Let's hear him. Oh, did I say better? Oops. Let's go. incredible. Either Mike Mangini played that in like an E-drum and they captured it and it's like really amazing, or somebody really spent a lot of time programming that thing. It's really, really good. And I just have to stop. I couldn't just play all the samples like that because this just sounds so incredible. This thing like totally took my breath away then, and it did it again right now. It just sounds incredible. Those kicks, the gong drums, and like I was saying, they're really, 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 really mixed. I didn't hear any like on anything. It just sounds great. Maybe a little bit of like extra, like, I don't know, 1,000 cycles or something like that to have a little bit more punch that you might need to take away because it's going to be competing with your vocals and that kind of stuff in the mix. But really incredible. Let me make sure that I don't talk and play the next 3 libraries by MixWave again. Like that Tony Royster performance, like I don't know if it was actually played by him or again if it was programmed, but however it was, it's like when I hear it, it's like I was looking at him playing it. I even hear when he just goes with one hand, you know what I mean? Like it just sounds really, 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 really amazing. And yeah, maybe like dynamics, it feels like the snare is always like 11, but it does sound really nice. So MixWave really, really took my breath away. Right, so now let's move on to MDL sound and Josh Middleton sounds. Let's start by listening to this one called Cyberbath. You kind of probably already know what it means. So yeah, that sounds really, really good. Something that I noticed with these is like the cymbals, for example, sound like their velocities are really, really high. I don't know if that has to do with the programming or if there's not enough samples, if there's not enough velocities recorded in the round robin thing that has to be happening. But this one overall, really great. I mean, this preset, the All the Way Josh, to me sounds amazing. Now let's hear the Odeholm drums. This is probably the most extreme one. And the sample is like so tiny. Wow. Talk about limiting and slamming compressors left and right. Let's hear it compared to this one that I feel maybe was like the hottest. No, this one was the hottest. I feel like the Middleton or the MDL sound, it still sounds a little bit more natural still than the Odeholm. Maybe for me and my taste and my aesthetics, like I don't do like that kind of music, like super, super, super aggressive like that. But I feel like the MDL sounds a little bit more realistic to my taste. But now let's move on to the Bogren Digital corner. And then again, these are some drums that sound a little bit more natural too. But let's hear it because I don't know. I haven't compared it to these. Let's go through all of them. And these are the Krim drums because they're like really my favorites. Let's just hear it. Yeah, I really like that kick drum. It sounds like very heavy, but there's something about the Krim drums and the Odeholm that is screaming to me like drum machine-y, right? Now, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, almost it doesn't really sound like a drummer playing a real drum set. Maybe the grooves sound like it's a real drummer, but it sounds like a drummer playing an E-kit. Let me know if you kind of feel that same thing. Some of the other ones kind of like did the trick. For example, like the MixWave made me feel like it was a real drummer playing some real drums. But in this case, it just makes me feel like it's like a programmed drum or somebody programming drums in an E-kit. But of course, I feel like that consistency too might sound really great in a mix. I feel like maybe sort of like the same way about the MDL ones. Let's hear it really quickly. Yeah, that's that's way too much. And I know he does give you like the natural sounds, but I mean, this is where the money's at, right? If you want to get the Odeholm drums, you need to hear the processed sound because the Odeholm drums are not the Odeholm drums unless he processed them, because that's what makes it Odeholm, that he is processing the sounds, right? But when you come here and you listen to the MixWave, for example, and next hear the Mangini when he's like already on fire. There's like a sense of realism, and that's extreme when you hear the Tony Royster. So I want to say that maybe like the MixWave stuff feels very close, in my opinion so far, to what I'm hearing right here in Superior Drummer. my friend, let's go get a few conclusions. Ooh, wee! Man, that was a lot of drums. And I think this was a very, very interesting experiment to make, because if you reduce the peaks and everything has like sort of like the same impact, you sort of like start judging things like apples to apples, and you can make a little bit of a fairer assessment, or a little bit more of a fair assessment of what you're actually listening to. Because I feel like when you get this like sample library all of a sudden coming like super impressive and super loud, and you're like, oh, of course it sounds the best. And if you made it all the way here, please go to the comment section and let's have a little bit of fun and say tupa, 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 just like a drum pattern. So if you're more like a producer and you have to like navigate yourself between a bunch of different genres, I want to say that maybe Superior Drummer is going to do the trick better than any of the other plugins. And all the mixing stuff that Superior Drummer has, I think it's just very familiar if you're an engineer, right? Or a producer. All the other ones are a little bit more like proprietary stuff. But since I don't have them all, I cannot tell you like which one is easier to program, which one is easier to mix once you have it, or maybe even like use the same programming and just go through all of them, and maybe do like mixes with them. I don't know. I cannot do that because I don't have them. I'm actually trying to choose which is the one that I'm going to buy. So let's try to answer that question right now, my friend. I feel like right now, today, I am leaning very, very heavily towards the Mangini drums, with the caveat that they might not be as versatile as I need them to be, or the MDL, because they again hit a perfect sweet spot where they can sound like very nice and like a nice metal, but they can still sound a little bit more mellow, you know, a little bit more indie. So I really do like that. I like that sweet spot that they live in. But then Superior Drummer, I think that in my opinion, maybe outside of the MixWave stuff, it's definitely the best. In my opinion, it just sounds the best. The samples sound like they have like the best quality. There's no weird like lo-fi stuff. It's like a very, very, very high fidelity sample. And I think that that is something that I appreciate a lot. And of course, the fact that you have so many components. I mean, I'm a geek. I love to tweak stuff. I love to sit down an afternoon and just like make a couple drum kits that I'm going to be using the rest of the year, for example. And I know that Superior Drummer has it. And you know where the Superior Drummer has the edge? Because they were recorded with George Massenburg. How are you gonna top that? How am I gonna top that right now? And honestly, how is anything like Taylor or any of these guys gonna top that? The experience that Massenburg has, and just like the ear, you know, that guy makes freaking plugins for the whole music industry. Like that guy has shaped the tone. He has shaped the music so that we hear the things the way we think that we hear them. So all I'm saying is like, it's very hard to beat the impressive work that Toontrack did by hiring the best people in the business, in the best studios in the world, and putting that effort. I'm gonna tell you right here, right now, you can definitely hear it. Not so much an Easy Drummer. Easy Drummer sounds terrible in my opinion. I hate to say it, I'm very sorry. But in my opinion, Easy Drummer, it's not any better than Addictive Drums. Not 1 cent. In fact, I like Addictive Drums a little bit better because to my ear, they sound more realistic. Like the good sound of Easy Drummer, I don't like. And the bad sounds, I despise. Like for example, that thing about the hi-hat, I hear more than I hear in most of the hi-hats. I mean, come on, dude. Just like a little freaking high pass. But anyway, I'm talking way, way too much, and this video has been really, really, really long already. So that's enough about me. I want to hear about you, my friend, in the comment section down below. And while you're there, remember to like, subscribe. If you can financially support me, smash that super thanks button right there. I thank you so much. And if you have some more time to watch another video, I'll wait for you right here, my friend. Thank you so much for being here once again.